Anone Mefede Meg. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another segment here on Project Purpose. For those of you who are new, we cover topics that relate to mental health, mental wellness, and education on a week-by-week basis. And today's topic of discussion is mental wellness. And the conversation on mental wellness this week, I am going to be doing the inverse of the first video we did. And the first video we did this week was focused on how to protect your peace. And I gave you 3 different tips that will enable you to protect your peace a little bit better. If you are someone who pays attention to all of the little details, I think that it'll help you manage and moderate your energy just a little bit better, enabling you to protect your peace and just get more enjoyment out of life. And now in this video, I'm going to be talking about things that you didn't realize were stealing away at your peace. And I think that this is an important video as well, because oftentimes there are certain behaviors that we normalize, and sometimes we just need that little nudge so that we can think a little bit about the things that we do and the reasons why we do them, and if whether or not they're actually good for us, or whether those habits are habits worth breaking. And so that's what I'm here to talk about today, keeping it light, but obviously, hopefully insightful. Now, we do post at least once or twice every week. So this is the week where we post twice, but I'm not committing to twice a week, once or twice each week. So definitely, if you're here, give us a follow and let's jump into the video. So the first one that you didn't realize was stealing away at your peace is the impressions or the opinions that people have of you. Now, for this story, I want to make it a little bit anecdotal, and I'm going to talk about my grade 5th year. So in grade 5, I was actually going to Central Public School. This was in Port Hope. This was a school that was fairly far out from where I was living at the time, in Garden Hill. My parents had a nursing home there, and I was homeschooled the year after this year, actually. But as many of you millennials out there, this was the era of Spice Girls. And in our school at that point in time, we had this massive school competition. And so my friends obviously wanted to participate, and this was the Spice Girls lip syncing competition. Like, how good could you lip sync a Spice Girls song? And of course, I was all for it. But the caveat is I was all for it to be Sporty Spice. I wanted to be Sporty Spice, and my friends were appalled. They were appalled that they had me on their team and that they were going to be forced to have me play as Sporty Spice when I was obviously Scary Spice. And so this enraged me, and there was actually quite a few battles back and forth before we settled on me being Scary Spice, because I saw within myself a Sporty Spice. I didn't see myself as Scary Spice, but the difference was they were not looking at the energy that I exuded or my personality. They were just looking at my hair, right? And obviously maybe my skin color as well. And so that created dissonance. That created a lot of issues, because I obviously wanted to participate. I wanted to participate with the Spice Girl that I felt more attunement to, and that was Sporty Spice. And I think that it's really, really important. This was a life lesson that I didn't really fully materialize until much later in life. But the way that we see ourselves can sometimes be radically different from how other people see us. But sometimes, a lot of the times actually, a lot of people don't go much further than surface deep. A lot of people don't really take the time to get to know you, to get a sense as to the energy that you exude, the characteristics that you portray. They stop at skin surface, right? And we are deeper than skin deep, right? I am so much more than the primary dimensions of my diversity. I'm so much more than my hair, than my face, than my skin color. The things that you look at when you perceive me tell you very little about who I am as an individual. But oftentimes we find ourselves getting caught up in the impressions and misimpressions of people around us. A lot of people, they project upon us their own prejudice, their own stereotypes, their unconscious bias, so on and so forth. And so at that point, it were my friends who were failing to see me the way that I saw myself, and it created this big friction point. I don't remember if we won the competition or not. I think we probably did, given their advantage because of the hair, of course. I think the life lesson was important for me. It was important for me to recognize that people didn't always see me the way that I saw myself. And a lot of the time, people can be very rigid at not seeing you the way that you see yourself. And even when you really force the issue, you try to make the argument for why you should be seen the way you see yourself, a lot of people are just going to miss the mark. And so what I've learned instead is that when it is the case that I find that someone sees me in a light that is less than or not aligned to how I see myself trumps how they see me. My self-perception is much more important to me than any other person's perception of me, and I think that too many of us put less weight on how we see ourselves, despite the fact that we have proximity to our personality, to our growth and evolution, to our own personal development, but we take on the impressions and opinions of other people. And so I stopped doing that at a very young age. I think a lot of it had to do with that experience, is because the blowout was so big, because I mean, they couldn't understand why I would try to sabotage the competition wanting to be Sporty Spice, whereas I couldn't understand how they couldn't see me as anyone other than Sporty Spice, because I was just that person. Like, I was very athletic, I was very sporty. For those of you who can't guess it, I was a bit of a tomboy growing up. I liked to tussle as a child, but that brought about this life lesson here for you. Like, do not sweat so much how people see you. In fact, better to leverage that information to reposition yourself, to align to people who see you in closer proximity to how you see yourself. And so I'm not talking about having like this inflated sense of self. Like, if you do have a lot of people not being able to see you the way you see yourself, it might be a moment to step backwards, to introspect a little bit, cultivate some self-awareness, some mindfulness, and see like what that gap is. But in most cases, it is the case that people are projecting their own views on you. And if those views are not something that are helpful, if they are hurtful, then I say find yourself in an environment where the way that people see you is in harmony with how you see yourself. Protect your peace. Now, the next point that I want to talk about in terms of things you didn't realize were stealing away your peace, and that's our consumption. That's the things that we decide to consume. And so I am someone who's very sensitive. I identify as HSP. And so I've done videos on this like much earlier in my YouTube channel's origin. I talk a little bit about being a highly sensitive person, and how it's not just a personality identifier, it's like coursed through my DNA. Like, so even at one point I had an internist, and even they recognized that like my body is just very responsive to everything around me. I even went to see a specific, I think it was a woman who specialized in Eastern medicine, and even she was like, your body is highly reactive. And I'm like, yes, because I am an HSP, I'm a highly sensitive person. And because I'm a highly sensitive person, even from since childhood, I had to be much more careful about what I consumed, because it could really create a vicious circle. If it was something that shocked my system, or if it was something that disturbed me or upset me or scared me, like, these are not states that I enjoy because of how long they live within my body. It's like this energy trapped in my body for much longer than it needs to. So I'm very careful about what I consume. And so a lot of us, we know this by the extremes. Like, there was an extreme thing that we know like really debilitates us, like we're obviously not going to subject ourselves to it, or maybe we might. Like, I can tell you I've never been to a haunted house, because I know that that's just not my jam. And I've seen people go into haunted houses. Like, I've watched people do vlogs about it. I've watched movies where they talk about little haunted houses, and I have never felt the inclination to do it. Like, I've been to Canada's Wonderland a whole bunch of times, and never once did I feel inclined to sign up for their haunted house experience. It's just not my kind of entertainment. Like, I do not enjoy being afraid. And a lot of that is because like it's just a visceral experience for me as an HSP. Fear is an experience that I have to manage very carefully. And I think that at this stage in my life, I have a healthy relationship with fear, but I will never subject myself to fear unnecessarily. It's not a form of entertainment. It's something that I really do manage with a lot of intention, a lot of mindfulness, and I try to do my best to mitigate or to minimize my experience of fear, even if I'm in like a fearful situation, because of the extent that it really disrupts my system. But of course, the mental and emotional discomfort. And so I think that where it is a little bit gray is when we talk about like the news we consume, the things that we consume on a daily basis. And a lot of news, like, I am someone who really does not care to seek out newsreels, because it's always so negative, it's always so dark. And I understand that there's a lot of chaos going on in the world, there's a lot of things that are wrong in the world, but there's a lot of good as well, and there's just not a proportional focus on both things. So I actually find that I go out of my way to find positive things. I go out of my way to find things that I can laugh at. I go out of my way to find things that bring me joy, that bring me happiness, that make me smile, because I think that that's healthy. I think that it's good to seek out positive stimuli and positive experiences and just positive affect. I like the feeling of feel-good feelings in my body, and I seek those out. I think that at one point in my life, I could qualify as having like toxic positivity. Like, I could not see things or dwell on things in a negative light. Like, I had to spin it in some way to make it positive. And I think I'm a little bit more moderate. Like, I can handle, like, I can like sit with negative experiences and not try to find the light, the bright side of things. I don't like negative consumption. I don't like to consume or subject myself to information that doesn't feel good, that doesn't sound great, that doesn't appeal to me. And I don't think that any of those things, like horror movies, things that are very gruesome and very violent, I don't think that that's good for our psyche. And I think that when we think about how it plays into the way that we interact with the people around us, if you find that those things have shifted your views on violence, shifted your views on people, like it's time to moderate your consumption and like balance it out, or even cut that stuff out altogether, because we are what we consume. We are the company that we keep. And so we want to make sure that we are careful with the company that we keep, with the things that we consume, so that we can preserve our sense of self, our alignment, and not take on qualities, values, traits that are a byproduct of the things that we are inadvertently exposing ourselves to. It's stealing away at our peace, because the thoughts that we entertain, like there are a lot of those thoughts have to do with the things that we engage with in our environment. Like we are not our thoughts, but the cycle of thoughts that you yourself are dealing with on a day-to-day basis, the real that's happening in the background, is fed by the things that you're consuming. So if you're not really a fan of your intrusive thoughts, if a lot of them bring you concern, then it's time to change the consumption themes in your life. The next thing that I want to talk about by way of protecting your peace is not sweating the people you don't like. And so this is important because I used to spend way too much time actively disliking people. I recognize that I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and I think that all of us are not everyone's cup of tea. And because I don't go out of my way to be everyone else's cup of tea, I also recognize that like I don't expect it of anyone else. But I used to spend a lot of time thinking about the people that upset me, the people who insulted me, the people who offended me, the people who made me feel bad. I would spend a lot of time thinking about those people and about why they were the way they were, or why they felt the way they felt, or there's this why question pending in my head. And I think that there are certain whys that are better left undiscovered, unearthed. I mean, the why really doesn't matter at the end of the day for certain things, right? And for other things, like I'm happy to do that thought exploration. But when it comes to like people, places, and situations that I interact with on a day-to-day basis, and some of those being less than ideal experiences, I've learned to just be at peace with it. Like it is what it is. I just take that information and leverage that information to orient accordingly, to navigate accordingly. I'm not going to sit there and ruminate and dwell about a person who's decided that they don't like me. I used to. I'm not going to do that anymore. I have I've addressed those people-pleasing qualities, but even more so, I've reached a place where I can be really indifferent about it. It's like, that's your choice, that's your truth, that's fine. I'm moving on with my life. I am not going to be impacted or affected by the fact that someone doesn't like me. And in fact, it's just going to inform like to what extent and how much attention I'm going to play into building that relationship. I'm not going to go out of my way. Like I value my energy much too much to spend my energy building a relationship with someone who I find out like later on through the grapevine or however doesn't like me. So it's just information that gives me a sense as to how to allocate my energy accordingly. And so with that, those were some fun and light things that you need to keep in mind when it comes to things you didn't realize were stealing away at your peace, where you can pivot and navigate very easily, protecting your peace and doing what you need to do to live a happier, more fulfilling, more meaningful life, both outside in the world that we share, and in your inner world as well. Now, if you like these conversations in self-mastery, if it is a subject that you want to do a deeper dive in, then we do host live events at least twice a month, every month for the foreseeable future on our website. So definitely be sure to check those out. Now, these are paid events, so if you do see yourself participating in our community on an ongoing basis, then I do suggest that you take a look at one of our package plans. Yes, so we do offer package plans over and above our live events that give you the opportunity to join in on webinars, workshops, and different training classes that enable you to focus on that self-mastery and that inner alignment. We also do provide parent-child workshops if you want to focus on cultivating that leadership development in your children while you're alone. We really do have something for everyone in your family. So check out the website, check us out, leave us a like. We are on the road to 1K. So definitely be sure to follow us and give us an opportunity to play a small role in your journey. Thank you again so much. We'll talk to you all soon.